No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for May 27th, 2024, coming off the King and Queen of the Ring premium live event. Now, we had premium live event footage shown, basically recapping what happened. And then we had Ludwig Kaiser in the ring to introduce the new King of the Ring, the King General, Gunther. Gunther came to the ring. The crowd was chanting for Randy Orton. We all saw the controversial finish with one of Randy Orton's shoulders being up. Gunther talked about being the king, getting his world title match at SummerSlam. He said that he gives Damian Priest credit for stepping up to the plate when Rhea Ripley got injured. However, Gunther noted that the world title, just like the IC title and the King of the Ring, lost prestige. And now Gunther has to step up and take the title to new heights. Judgment Day interrupted and pointed out that Gunther did not beat Randy Orton. Priest got on the mic and he said he cashed in because he earned the briefcase in the ladder match. And he said he could teach Gunther a thing or two about business. Drew McIntyre showed up. Crowd was chanting CM Punk. McIntyre brought up CM Punk, how if he didn't injure CM Punk would have screwed up, been fired. McIntyre said he is going to be the new world champion in 3 weeks. Gunther decided to leave and let Priest and McIntyre talk it out, argue whatever they were going to do. McIntyre said that Judgment Day has been screwing up left and right. And once again, McIntyre mentioned that Priest needs to focus on the world title. Priest needs to study some tapes. McIntyre brought up how Scotland is his country. Crowd started chanting USA. And then he noted that Priest will be walking into a war zone. Now, Damian Priest responded by saying that the crowd booing him is not going to get under his skin. However, he can get under Drew McIntyre's skin, and asked if Drew McIntyre's wife was going to be there. And of course, McIntyre said, "You better choose your next words very carefully." And Priest made his point clear that he could get under McIntyre's skin. Braun Strowman then showed up, had a face-off with Damian Priest, I guess to tease Strowman as a potential contender. And that led to our first match of the evening, Braun Strowman versus JD McDonagh. Pretty much exactly what you would expect. Strowman throwing JD McDonagh around, JD struggling to get any type of offense, but then Strowman charged at JD. JD moved and Strowman went into the ring post, and then JD McDonagh clipped the knee of Strowman. That's how you take a big man down, make it so he can't walk. Strowman, after the commercial break, was selling his knee, but still managed to run outside the ring and hit the Strowman Express. Strowman kept the momentum going. Finn Balor got on the apron, so Strowman threw Balor into the ring. And then we had Carlito taking a cheap shot. JD McDonagh tried to finish off Strowman, but then JD got caught. Strowman gave him a power slam, and that was it. Braun Strowman picked up the victory, but then Judgment Day immediately attacked Strowman after the match. Strowman, though, no-sold a chair shot from JD McDonagh. Crowd chanted, "You effed up," and USA Network censored it. JD, of course, ran away. Strowman limped after Judgment Day, trying to get his hands on them. And throughout the show, so Raw's a 3-hour show, right? And pretty much for the remainder of this show, Braun Strowman was seen backstage trying to find Judgment Day. Seriously, the guy must have been running around for the entire show looking for them. Now, backstage, Liv Morgan was interviewed. She's the new women's champion, and she said she has no remorse over how she won. Of course, Dominic Mysterio got involved, but she claimed she did not know that Dominic was going to get involved in that match. Then we had Ricochet in a segment that took place earlier in the day. He wanted Bron Breakker, definitely not Bron Breakker. Maybe if Vince McMahon was in charge, Braun Strowman would become a chef or something. But in this Triple H era, he's just Bron Breakker. Ricochet wanted Braun, but Adam Pearce noted that Bron Breakker was suspended for a week due to his actions on last week's show, including an attack on Ricochet backstage. Ilja Dragunov came in, and a match was set up for Raw between Ricochet and Dragunov. A rematch from the King of the Ring tournament. Ricochet was cleared to wrestle. It was a pretty good match with these two. Now, what bothered me about this match was how it ended. They had a lengthy match here. It was back and forth, and the crowd even started chanting, "This is awesome." Dragunov avoided a 360, or excuse me, a 630 splash, and then he took out Ricochet with a clothesline. Ricochet kicked out, and then Dragunov came off the top rope for a springboard H-bomb, but he got caught with a kick. Ricochet hit the recoil. Dragunov kicked out, though, and then Ricochet was able to hit a shooting star, but could not make the cover right away. And as he was perhaps going for the cover, maybe to get the win, guess who showed up? Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker came in, and he wiped out Ricochet with a spear. Dragunov also got speared. Adam Pearce, of course, was furious. Bron Breakker just walked off. Pearce, of course, not happy about this whatsoever. And when he got to the backstage area, Kiana James was there to talk with Pearce, and I guess they went into his locker room to calm him down, whatever that means. So, like I said, I was frustrated with the finish because they did a long match just to end it in a DQ. Now, really, you don't want to beat either guy at this point. So my opinion on this is, why even book the match in the first place if you're just going to do a DQ finish? And come on, Braun showing up, like, it's predictable. He's suspended, but then he shows up anyways. Whatever. I would rather just see Braun coming out there and winning more squash matches for a little bit. Like, give him a good 3 or 4 months of just coming out there and squashing people. Like, we don't really need a triple threat with these guys. I think it's maybe a little bit too soon, but hey, you got to get them on TV. So this is what Triple H came up with. We had footage from earlier in the day. This was Memorial Day, and R-Truth was running an ice cream stand. Miz was dressed in white, and Miz had a theory on this. He was going to wear white, and because he was representing vanilla ice cream, and R-Truth was representing, and before he could finish that line, R-Truth said he was representing strawberry. Then the New Day came in, and they were wondering what Miz was about to say. So we had a little bit of comedy here. And then we had Kairi and Cross coming in, and Cross once again trying to get Xavier Woods to break away from the New Day. And Xavier Woods said he will never do this. He will never break away from his partner, Kofi Kingston. And in fact, Xavier Woods challenged AOPP for a tag team match on next week's episode of Monday Night Raw. We had AOPP in action against the Creed brothers. All four of them started brawling. It was a basic tag match. AOP took control for a while, and then Julius Creed got a hot tag. He came in, started suplexing Akam and Razor, whatever their names are. And then the Creeds were about to do the Brutus Ball finishing move, but then Scarlett took Ivy Nile and threw her into the steel steps, and that distraction allowed AOPP to get the win with their finisher called the What a Rush, I guess paying tribute to the Legion of Doom. Whatever, AOP wins, they're getting pushed. Creeds will probably go heel at some point and join Chad Gable. More on Chad Gable, though, in a couple of minutes. So I'm not too worried about the Creeds because I think a heel turn is coming and they can just pick up a couple losses or take a couple losses until they get with Gable. Then it'll be off to the races. AOP desperately needs a win at this point. So I was fine with this, and they should probably destroy New Day on next week's show. But yeah, I do not see a New Day split. As Michael Wayne pointed out, I like to say it, highly unlikely in all likelihood. We had Rey Mysterio interviewed backstage, or just cutting a promo, I think. And he said he was hyping up his match with Carlito, and he said that Carlito's jealous over Dragon Lee, and it made Carlito bitter. And now Carlito is going to find out what happens when you cross him and the LWO. Sheamus came to the ring for a promo, and he talked about King and Queen of the Ring having banger after banger after banger after banger after banger, even though there are only 5 matches. And he talked about Ludwig Kaiser taking him out. He wanted some payback, but then Kaiser interrupted on the big screen and said that Sheamus should blame Gunther and not Kaiser. Sheamus decided he had enough of Kaiser talking. He went backstage. Kaiser ambushed Sheamus, and then they started fighting out in the crowd by the stage. And then you had Adam Pearce and the officials. Adam Pearce just losing control on this episode of Monday Night Raw. We had Kairi Sane versus Lyra Valkyria. Dakota Kai was out there with Kairi. Very basic match here. I think it was just to give Lyra a win after the Queen of the Ring loss. Just to rehab her. Kairi did get in some offense. She came off the top with a double foot stomp, but Lyra kicked out. And then Kairi went for the insane elbow, but Lyra got her feet up, rode up Kairi, and got the 1-2-3 victory. Kairi had new music, very generic, but she seemed happy on Twitter/X, so I guess more power to her. We had Judgment Day backstage, and Dominic finally appeared, and it was brought up how Dominic messed up big time by inadvertently helping Liv Morgan win. And he said that he told Mommy, Rhea Ripley, he was going to fix things. And the main event coming up was Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch in a rematch Becky getting a rematch for the Women's Championship. We had Io Sky backstage, and she's just frustrated. She was throwing things. She was pissed off. She stormed away out of the locker room. So things not looking too good for Damage Control right now. We had Rey Mysterio versus Carlito. Match was all right. Not really that interesting in my opinion. I feel like the shine has worn off Carlito. His music is terrible, so I mean that definitely doesn't help him. It was a basic match, and then after the commercial break, Rey made a comeback. Then we had all the interference. We had Finn Balor out there, but despite the interference, Rey was able to hit the 619 and got the 1-2-3 victory. Everyone kept fighting afterwards, and then Damian Priest showed up. Carlito spit his apple at Dragon Lee. Damian Priest took out Lee with the razor's edge. Rey Mysterio tried to fight off Priest, but then Priest laid out Rey with the South of Heaven chokeslam, and a match was set up between them for next week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Backstage, Chad Gable, after losing the triple threat thanks to Otis, Gable said he was going to give Otis one more chance to redeem himself against Bronson Reed. And as I mentioned earlier, Braun Strowman still looking for JD McDonagh. We had Bronson Reed versus Otis. Chad Gable was out there. Otis was doing good. He clotheslined Reed, gave him a running crossbody, body slammed him, gave him a big splash in the corner, but then he was too tempted. The fans wanted it. They wanted the caterpillar, and Chad Gable was like, no. He got on the apron. He was yelling at Otis, and Bronson Reed took advantage, kicked Otis in the face, and then came off the top with the tsunami, got the 1-2-3 victory, and Gable had just about enough. We had a commercial break. After the break, we had an Alpha Academy team meeting in the ring, and Gable brought up how Otis blew it, and now because Otis lacks discipline, he needs to be dealt with. And Gable took off his belt. He was going to give Otis a whipping with the belt. Maxine Dupree, though, stopped Gable, and Gable ordered her to leave his ring. So she did, and Gable told Tozawa to watch. But then Sami Zayn showed up. Zayn was warned to not get in the ring by Gable. Zayn got in the ring anyways. And Zayn told Otis to stop listening to Gable, listen to the people, listen to his heart when it's calling for him. And he wanted to know how much longer Otis was going to put up with Gable. Gable decided to attack Sami Zayn. Zayn fought back, and then Otis pulled Zayn off of Gable, and Gable then suplexed Zayn. Crowd was chanting, "Let's go, Otis," and Otis just walked away, led the charge. He walked off, and then Gable and Tozawa followed him to the back. I thought this was the best thing on the show. I thought it was very entertaining, kind of like a mini Bloodline storyline here. You know, they're slowly building up to the Gable and Otis split. Building Nexus sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Building Nexus. Says, does Gable need to split from Otis before uniting with the Creeds? Yeah, I think we need to have the angle play out, give it a little bit more time, and then Gable, or will it be Otis who has enough of Gable? I really feel Otis has got to turn against Gable, and then Gable will recruit the Creed brothers to join him. Creeds will turn heel, and like I said earlier, it is going to be off to the races. Gable and the Creeds will be like a new Team Angle. Maybe even Kurt Angle could be brought back as their manager and push these guys as serious heels. And, you know, Otis will be fine. Everyone loves Otis. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the storyline. And I thought this was the highlight of Monday Night Raw this week. We had our main event, but before we got to that, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, who are the #1 contenders for the women's titles, they wanted to invite Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill to Monday Night Raw. And Sonya Deville was there once again to offer them help. We had Alba Fire and Isla Dawn coming in, confronting Baszler and Stark, noting that Baszler and Stark never beat them, and they want an opportunity at the tag team titles. And once again, Sonya was like, see, maybe you guys can use my help after all. So I presume at some point Sonya Deville will officially be managing them or whatever she's going to do. We had a Liv Morgan video package showing her road to the women's title, injuring Rhea Ripley, and then winning it at King and Queen of the Ring. And then we had our steel cage match for the women's championship. Liv defending against Becky Lynch. Match was okay, but it kind of felt flat. Number one, the crowd was pretty dead for this, unfortunately. And number two, after that Adam Copeland Malachi Black cage match where it was a bloodbath, literally, like blood all over the ring and craziness, like this felt very tame. It was your basic tag team match, or not tag team match, man, I'm tired. Your basic cage match where Liv would try to escape early, Becky would stop her, and then they took turns throwing each other into the cage, rubbing their heads into the cage. Liv hit Becky with a power bomb out of the corner. Becky kicked out of that, and then Becky applied the disarm her no break in a cage match, but Liv was able to break out of the move and send Becky into the cage. And then both were down. Dominic showed up. Dominic Mysterio opened the door. Who was going to take advantage of this? Judgment Day showed up. Judgment Day ran down. They were yelling at Dominic, why are you getting involved in this match again? And then Braun Strowman showed up. He knocked Dominic. He basically did the bum rush to Dominic. Dominic ended up knocking into the cage door, which slammed into Becky. This was a creative way of doing the door slam in these cage matches. And then Braun Strowman chased Judgment Day to the back. Liv Morgan got out. Liv Morgan picked up the victory, and then Raw abruptly went off the air. So that was the end of Raw. And apparently people were telling me that Liv Morgan kissed Dominic Mysterio at the end of the show. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. I'm looking at the clip now. They cut this segment. She kissed him. I'm watching it right now. She kissed him. She initiated the kiss, and Dominic just stood there, didn't really react to it. So I guess the plot thickens. Did Dominic like that kiss? And he's going to come back for more and cheat on mommy. I guess that's the big cliffhanger, but they fucked up. The show went off the air without the kiss being seen, but of course they can show it on next week's show. And then the big question is also with Becky Lynch, because her contract, she mentioned this several weeks ago, that her contract was coming up, and reports coming out June 1st, her contract ending, and she has apparently not signed a new contract. So what's up with her? Is she really going to leave WWE, or is she just going to take a little bit of time off and play the game, as the saying goes? Let Tony Khan throw an offer at her. Let WWE give her a better offer. We'll see what happens. I'm sure we're going to talk about this on the No DQ review. I don't think she's leaving, but you never know. Never say never, right? Her husband just signed a long-term contract, so is she really going to leave? We'll see. Raw overall was okay. I was a little bored with the show. I really liked the Chad Gable, Sami Zayn segment. And some of the stuff with Judgment Day was entertaining, but for the most part, it felt very run-of-the-mill. Main event, I thought, was a bit flat, and they should have had the kiss at the end for the cliffhanger. I mean, we had a little bit of a cliffhanger with Dominic, but the kiss was more significant, and they didn't show it. So I cannot include that in the overall package of Raw. I would say it was a C+ Raw. If we had the kiss, I might have gone B-. But since the kiss did not make the air, I give it a C+. Decent Raw, but a little lackluster in my opinion. Not too much exciting things happening other than the Chad Gable storyline, which I think they're cooking with that one right now. Rest of the show was just your standard Raw, in my opinion. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Stay tuned to No DQ for the latest. No Jey Uso. Hopefully we'll have an update on him, why he wasn't on the show. Maybe they're going to get him involved with the bloodline at some point, maybe do a trade or something. Who knows? But, one would think that he would be involved with the bloodline, get Jimmy Uso back and start building up Roman's return. Maybe that's where they're going. We'll see. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Buy a shirt if you like the channel, NoDQ.com/merch, and I will see you all next time.